Well, today in South Bend, Indiana, and on the University of Notre Dame, flags are flown at half-staff to honor the passing of a giant among men, a warrior for peace and a champion for civil rights, Father Theodore Hesburgh. And I want you to just think for a minute and let your mind drift to what we will see in the future as a tombstone that's going to say on it, it's going to have Father Hesburgh's name, and it's going to say, born May 25th, 1917, died February 26th, 2015. And I want you to forget about those two dates, and for a minute think about the 97 years in between those dates. Not just the day Father Hesburgh was born or the day that Father Hesburgh died, but the 97 years that Father Hesburgh spent on earth doing great work. Because truly a man is measured not by so much by his years on earth, but what he accomplished while he was here. Now, for those of us at Notre Dame, I think it's important to go back and think about just who Father Ted was. Father actually passed away last Thursday at 11:30 p.m. Now, I want you to think about Father Hesburgh's last day. He rose in the morning. It was very important for him to celebrate Mass, which he did that day. Throughout the course of the day, he wasn't feeling quite right, but again, he was 97 years old. That evening, as he was accustomed to do, he smoked a cigar, went to bed, and for whatever reason, he was surrounded by some very good friends, but he was also surrounded by a nun. Father Hesburgh's last moments was a recitation of the Rosary. Now, he was very fluent in 5 different languages. The language that he thought was the most beautiful was the French language, and the Rosary was recited in French. Picture, if you can, a 97-year-old man lying in a bed, friends around him, knowing that something was going to happen. And Father Hesburgh closed his eyes and passed. But think about the glorious moment right after the closing of those eyes. Because in the next instant, they were opened. Not on earth, not on the University of Notre Dame, not in a bed where he was a dying old man, but in heaven, surrounded by all those folks who knew Father Ted, who loved Father Ted, and who had been patiently waiting for his arrival, because that's what we believe. We know that he is at home. Now, I told you Father Hesburgh was born in Syracuse, New York. He's educated at Notre Dame and at the Gregorian University in Rome, from which he received a Bachelor of Philosophy degree. He was ordained a priest at the Congregation of Holy Cross and Sacred Heart Church, now the Basilica on Notre Dame, on the campus in June of 1943. Now, earlier today at 2 o'clock, the funeral mass for Father Hesburgh was held at this very same church, the Sacred Heart Basilica, on our beautiful and beloved campus. Now, as I stand here, the funeral mass for Father Ted is concluding, and the Notre Dame community will be following Father Ted on St. Mary's Road out to his final resting place at the Holy Cross Community Cemetery. It'll be a sad march, but it'll also be a rejoicing march, because we miss him, and we're going to miss him, but we rejoice in what he was able to accomplish. For generations of students at Notre Dame, Father Hesburgh was simply known as Father Ted. That's all, Father Ted. And I was one of those people that was fortunate enough to be there when Father Ted was there. And some of my colleagues, I think that Peter King was there, Peter Vislowski was there, Keith Rothfuss was there, and my good friend Senator Joe Donnelly was there. And today, Senators Donnelly and Coates and I wanted to pay tribute to this national treasure by introducing a bicameral resolution to honor the life of this truly amazing man. Father Ted faithfully served Notre Dame for decades. Now, serving as Notre Dame's president for 35 years, from 1952 to 1987. Now, I want you to think about what Father Ted has done, because, you know, mostly when people talk about Notre Dame, they say, oh, yeah, heck of a football team. And, you know, at times we have been very good. But what he was able to do is he was able to transition us from not just a team or a little school in the Midwest that was known for the way it played football. And we were originally called the Ramblers. We were not called the Fighting Irish. We were called the Ramblers because we had no home. And so we had to kind of go around the country to play different teams. So we kind of rambled around the country. We're the Ramblers. Then we adopted the name Fighting Irish, and a lot of that is for the very immigrants that came into the university. It was one of those universities that honored the fact that people were coming from all over the world, and they were coming to the United States, and there was really not a lot of institutions of higher learning that they could get entrance to. Notre Dame was one of those institutions. So his leadership at Notre Dame, it just didn't stop in South Bend, and it certainly didn't stop at the university's gates. His commitment to education and social justice extended way beyond the boundaries of my alma mater and well beyond Indiana, and in fact, well beyond America's shores. His dedication is one of shared humanity that knew absolutely no bounds. His strong belief that what unites us is far greater than that divides us made him a champion of civil discourse and social justice. One only needs to look at a photo that I brought with me today. And in the annals of America, it's hard to look at Dr. King and Father Ted and not look at these two lions for social justice, these two lions for civil rights, and to understand that they were locked arm in arm on a mission that they knew had to take place and that they could no longer turn a blind eye or a deaf ear to. That's who Father Ted was. He believed to the very soul of who he was, the very fabric of who this man was, that this is what America needed. He not only preached it, he not only taught it, he lived it. So this week, and this is truly, I think it's almost providential, the 50th anniversary of the march on Selma's Bridge, Edmund Pettus Bridge. It commemorates the 50th anniversary again. This was called Bloody Sunday. This is in 1965. Hard for us to imagine that could have taken place, but it did. And in fact, we'll celebrate the 50th anniversary of it this Saturday. That's what helped secure the passage of the Voting Rights Act so that every American citizen could equally participate in her democratic process. This was a milestone. This just wasn't something to be marked on a calendar. This was a great event in the terms of how we advanced democracy in our country. Now, as we honor Selma's legacy this Saturday, I know that the spirits of these two great lions, these people that really stood up when it took time to stand up, and when it wasn't really easy to stand up, and certainly took a lot of courage, they stood up for what they knew to be right, for what they knew to be true, for what they knew to be truly American. Now, as I said earlier, I just can imagine right now that when Father closed his eyes last Thursday night and then suddenly opened them, again, who was around him, who surrounded him, who he was able to share that moment with is incredible. I'm sure Dr. King was there with him. Now, over the years, I want to tell you about this man. Father Hesburgh held 16 presidential appointments. He covered every type of major social concern and civil rights concern to third world development that a person could possibly understand, and also campus unrest. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He won the Congressional Gold Medal. He won the Sylvanus Thayer Award. He won the Public Welfare Medal. And though he counseled popes and presidents, Father Hesburgh was first and foremost a priest on the campus of Notre Dame. And he had said, I never really wanted to be anything but a priest, which is in itself a great and unearned grace. I hope to live and die a priest, nothing more, but nothing less either. Now, for decades, he has been considered the most influential priest in America, and in the world, he looked at as his flock. He was truly a shepherd who lived with his flock. He demonstrated this by his tireless work and his historic service to our country, to our church, and to the world. Robert Whittington, a contemporary of Sir Thomas More, who in 1520 wrote of Sir Thomas More, is a man of an angel's wit and singular learning. I know not his fellow, for where he is the man of that gentleness, lowliness, and affability. And as time requireth a man of marvelous mirth and pastimes, and sometimes of a sad gravity, is truly a man for all seasons. At the end of the day, Father Hesburgh was truly America's Renaissance man. He was truly our man for all seasons. And much like Sir Thomas More was to his contemporaries over 500 years ago. Father Ted has left this world a better place because he took it upon himself the responsibility to inspire others here and abroad to pursue a life of justice and peace. Truly blessed are the peacemakers. Now, as Father Hesburgh is known to say, he too is resting in the loving hands of our Savior, bathed in the light of eternal life. These words were spoken by Father Hesburgh to Secretary Condoleezza Rice upon the passing of her father. Now, he is now at peace with God, with the God he served so well during his lifetime on earth. I will just leave you with this one thought. A good friend of mine that I grew up with and graduated with, a guy named Larry Bulleman, had gone to see Father. Keith Rothfuss and I, by the way, a year ago received his blessing when he was here. We were celebrating his birthday. We knelt down. He gave us his blessing. Father said to Larry Bulleman when they're having a talk about ethics, he said, Larry, ethics is fun to intellectualize, but ethics without the heart is missing something. So if we can just concentrate on those words, let those words soak in, seep into who we are, then I think we can truly not only honor him, but honor him in a way that really means the most, and that is by emulating his life and trying to carry forward the same issues that Father had. I know he's now at peace with the God he has served so well during his life. May peace be with him. And with that, I yield back my time, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you.